But we have Pool 2 to discuss, which was Munster's pool, which actually happened first in terms of the weekend just gone, but it's in the context of next weekend. Yeah, Pool 2 coming later in the fixtures.
It's the second to last one, I think, Saturday evening.
Right.
Kickoffs. Big game obviously would be Munster Exeter. Last week we bigged up Munster Gloucester against Munster.
Or Gloucester Munster, sorry.
Listen, it was a massively impressive showing from Munster. What happened sort of from Gloucester's perspective is what you often see, like a lot of people, especially in this side of the pond, are just sort of like, I'm hearing from off the ball and these guys at some talk of like, did they really into this championship at all? You know, Gloucester have this decent record and then they just go and get blown away like that. The thing is about those Premiership teams is that the ones that aren't Exeter and Saracens, whenever they meet Exeter and Saracens in the Premiership, you get a lot of results like that.
Yeah.
You get a lot of crushing, unbelievable victories over Bath and Wasps and Gloucester
and Leicester in that group.
Yeah, and very often it's just like meeting a proper pack, a proper elite level pack stuns them. They can't get any go for a ball. They're so used to these softly carrying through contacts. And
they're clunky. A lot of their sets are clunky. When you watch those kinds of teams play each other, you can get great ding dong battles. Bath v or not Bath v anyone because of that pitch, but Gloucester v Bath can sometimes be a fun game. But it's like, when, like you're saying, when they come across a team that are that drilled in the pack, particularly the first half just blows them away, and that's where you do get those blown out score lines because Munster were just all over them from the very first whistle. And it turned out we did cite a few injuries. Some of them didn't end up, like we were talking in the last podcast about Cipriani potentially being out because he had been out, Thorley potentially being missing, Jaco Creel being missing, and he was the one who was, and he was so missing. Yes, but he was so noted for his absence. Like, he's a quality player. It just left Captain Morgan, Ben Morgan there. He was playing 10 sometimes. He was a bit wider out. Then that was probably a mistake on their part.
He was too wide.
He was too wide because he's there. Someone needed to front up physically, and the rest of the pack weren't doing it. And so he did end up throwing that intercept in the second half, which was, again, not necessarily causal of the defeat, but symptomatic of what they're getting wrong. Like, why was Ben Morgan there throwing that pass?
It's a great point that you touched on there. That the offensive set is clunky, and that's right about what they do in the pack. I mean, so much of what you see in the Premiership from them in their generic stock Premiership games is some interesting little forward dynamic that looks a little slow, but then the ball gets to Cipriani and he's in a bit of space. And that doesn't happen when you get to the top level.
Well,
like it's just because there's a flanker whose only thing on his mind is Cipriani's going to get the ball under pressure from me.
Yes, I'm going to hit Cipriani. And to be fair to Cipriani, he didn't take too many hits. He moved the ball pretty well. Yeah, but he didn't get into the game at all. He wasn't allowed to.
And very often, they'd start one of these sets and they'd be stopped before it happened. Yeah. And the other thing that happened is the backfield coverage from Hudson, the fullback.
Oh, he had a game of games. Yeah, he had a shocker. It was a shocker. It wasn't just the backfield. Like, every play that came near him, he got wrong. I did feel for the boy looking at it, because it was just like he should have been taken off. But
Murray targeted him very early. Yeah, and Thorley is a big guy who didn't drop a ball. He had to catch one or two, but he was just, even on his own wing, he wasn't under them. It was the fullback. Like, what is with that backfield coverage? How can you not adjust and realise things are going wrong? Yeah, because Thorley is, like, I know it's trusting a lot on the boy, but he's mature enough. Like, at this point, he's a big guy. He catches those balls.
He's very effective off counter attack as well.
Get him into the backfield. Let him cover his own wing at least. Yeah. It was just very weird from Gloucester, and Murray, of course, was purring.
Yeah, he noticed it very, very quickly. I loved. There was a great moment because, like, we watched it. You watched it retrospectively because you were in work, so I actually watched it again with you, having watched it on the Friday night.
That's right.
And it was like, I was being silent to try not to spoil the outcome, but after you made a comment after the first 20 minutes before the try went in, just before that, you were just like, nothing's really happened in this game. It's been a load of mistakes, and then, as if to punctuate your point, Murray made his first and only mistake where he kicked a box kick just out on the full, and it was like, from there he chewed his gum shield sheepishly, knew he'd made the mistake, and from then on was laser accurate with all of them, and they worked flawlessly for the whole.
There's a great me impression, by the way. You nailed it. Great impression.
So was you were disappointed with the game
at that point.
Yes, because it was error stream, but it was also very, very evident how it was going to go even in those exchanges through the air. Munster just had to not make one or two of those errors, and then there was going to be tries, and sure enough there were, and it was like
Gloucester were broken down by them. It was a clinic in elite level having an elite level pack.
Yeah. What happens when an international pack comes up against a Premiership
Munster's scrum, by the way, just continues to be awesome, and John Ryan off the bench is such a weapon.
You were very annoyed at the selection of Archer.
I just think that Archer is petulant at times and gives away penalties and isn't nearly the technical scrummager that John Ryan is. So I don't see what he brings off the team. The only thing that he brings is the opportunity to bring John Ryan off the bench,
which is not to be sniffed at, because if you're 60 minutes into a game and you see that boy walking towards a scrum out of nowhere fresh, and you're going, oh my god, it's such an asset that they have. It has won tournaments like this before. That level of scrum can do that, and that has remained a constant in that Munster game. But what was also great to see, and you probably had your questions about the man of the match call, just purely because the game was won by the forwards, but Carberry turned on the style in the second half.
It was in the moments since that Carberry's become almost like celebrified by the performance, but it was just like, as I was watching it, like what I was watching in the first half was like what had been created by the end of the first half was just this stifling Munster performance, and then this powerful, like the Carberry try, the first try off like everything was happening off 9. But it was just the forwards were carrying, and it was bullet pass from Murray to another forward on it, bullet pass from Murray, and then there's that sumptuous Murray pass that slipped the forwards and caught them out, and Carberry went perfect line into the hole. Like, he didn't put a foot wrong, don't get me wrong, and he scored a great try, and I just like, it was punishing. And then by contrast, when Gloucester had the ball, like, they couldn't get any go forward, and then they were stagnant, and then they were lateral, and even when Thorley did get his try, it took 35 phases of no go forward until Munster eventually got sucked in enough for Cipriani to make the pass to him. Like, it was all
well, this is it. Like if you're talking about Carberry, I don't think Cipriani had a bad game either. It was just the game was decided long before it got to 10.
Like, I did read in a match report, like, Carberry won the out half battle. And I was like, come on.
That wasn't the battle.
Come on. What Carberry did is turn the skill show on and just stomped on the corpse of Gloucester.
Yes, he did.
With some lovely sexy
Which is
play.
what you want a nice a technical 10 doing, like that inside. He's mentioned it before in interviews how he wants to develop his left-footed kicking game as well as his right foot because of his time in the backfield, defending fullback, finding it very hard to get a read on those players, which I firmly believe, because you see it in all sports. You make the point in GAA. It also exists in football. When a defender knows that you're not going to kick on your left foot, it's easier to leave an open shot and just cover that space. Whereas Carberry's not allowing for that. He's taking it to the line and then dropping it on the left peg, which he doesn't normally do. You
actually saw as he approached the line, because fantastic man of the day Hudson came flying up out of the line for that Conway try. And again, it was one of those confused plays, but because when they did turn around, the two boys, Thorley and Hudson, were on Conway. It was just 2 on 1 man. There was no extra man. He didn't need to shoot up, and the two of them shared a quick exchange before turning around to run back after the ball for Conway.
Dismal stuff.
There was a little look.
Well, Hudson did not have his best game by any stretch. But
what was great about it was that as they approached the line, he shot up, but the Gloucester defender in front of Carberry blocked his right foot. He covered it, said you can't kick it through me, I'm going to block you. So Carberry slipped onto the left, and that is skillage in the village. That's beautiful.
At the gain line, making that kind of read, that kind of adjustment is fantastic. And the intercept was a great read as well from the deep.
Poor Ben Morgan.
Well, he'd been doing that all day, so it was only a matter of time. Obviously after that little sexy play, Joey was feeling it, and then as soon as he sees Ben Morgan, it's like, where else is this going to go? I'm going to go, and he got it. So he did turn on the style points.
Listen, Joey's got all the skills.
Yes, he does.
And we know that. But I as a forward, sort of, it's just like giving the man of the match call when, first of all, everything was happening off 9, and second of all, it was won by the pack. The game was won, and he turned on the skills.
You point to a time in history when an out half has scored 2 tries and set up another and has not got kicked all his kicks and has not got a man of the match call.
I know.
It never happens, and you know this.
Do you know what else never happens? Is fucking loosehead props getting the man of the match.
And speaking of, Kilcoyne had a monster game.
So good.
But he was gone for 50 minutes. You can't give him man of the match, even though he's a prop.
So good. But listen, their pack are on fire. And their pack are even improved on where they were in years gone by. They now have a 10 that they trust, who can read plays. I think what the big question mark, and it's a question mark just because they haven't faced it, except maybe in cast, is what happens when they get matched up front or even beaten up front. Yeah. And what does
that's been the stumbling block in years gone by. It's been semi-finals and it's happened, and they haven't had the answers. Yeah. But this is what's exciting about the Murray-Carbery option. Yeah. Because we haven't seen that. There certainly seems what has happened in seasons gone by is that Murray's not enough. Yeah. And Scannell's not even enough, and that they can't give an armchair ride to either Keatley or Blaindale. You need as much as everything's coming off 9 because it's a Munster-driven performance. It's going to be forwards first. And there needs to be a 10 in that cup.
The only game in recent times that their pack have been properly beaten up was in cast, and that was the day that Joey did get a little loose and get things wrong. And listen, look, it's an anomalous game in France, in cast in particular. They're dirty buggers. Yeah, you can't.
I think also more went wrong than Joey. I think the whole team, the whole pack, as much as they were bullied, they were they were in the wrong headspace. It was like watching to make a boxing analogy, when someone just mouths off and talks enough that you get riled up and angry. Like Munster were so inaccurate across the park on that day, and it was not just 10. No, it was a thing it was a disease that bled through the whole team.
I disliked the singular blame that was put on Carbery after this game. As much as I dislike the singular
credit that's there. Well, that's just going to be media coverage of rugby, man. People love 10s.
That said, he was brilliant. But what my broader point is, it remains to be seen whether he, when put under just that little extra bit of pressure that good teams put you under, like in test level. Yes. My only nagging doubt, and this is actually an answer to a comment that we got, which I'll bring up now. Yes. But my only nagging doubt about him is just his tendency to get a little loose, to get a little panicky and throw things a little quickly, and that's where the intercepts come into his game from time to time, and that's it's a nagging doubt that's yet to be answered. But in terms of whether the guy has the skills, he has them all. He has the ability to read the game, absolutely.
And his rugby brain and his calm. His sense of calm is totally. Like, you can still get loose when he's getting into that flowy kind of feel, and if you haven't earned the right to go wide, that's where the intercepts come. But also a lot of time, like all season long, he wasn't playing with Murray. Murray was absent, presumed missing. Maybe I think he was getting that what was like not necessarily necessary, if you want to bring that phrase back, but but it was like something that needed doing, certainly this side of the World Cup. So it meant that the whole start of the season, which what we were looking forward to with Carbery going down there, was that axis of getting him under Murray's wing, but also under Peter Mahoney's wing, and just learning the Munster way, but then dictating games together.
I know Peter Mahoney has been great with Carbery, for sure. He's always talking to him. He's got the arm around the shoulder.
He looks a complete captain when Carbery and him are in frame. In fact, it's like it's great. Carbery seems to be fully blossoming now down in Munster, getting on board. Totally. Still a few little issues whereby like the Munster way isn't necessarily the Carbery way, because Carbery was brought up the Leinster way, and so like his instincts are to go a bit wider than all the Munster lads are looking, and that's sometimes a problem. But what I think is going to be good for him is that he doesn't have to run the game solely on his own. He does have one of, if not the best 9 inside, and the pack that is European caliber.
Murray looked every inch the best 9 in the world. The other, and again, same comment as Carbery. He had a go for it pack, but his passing game is gotten so good. And his kicking game as well. We did get the comment, just to expand on it really, it's from Liam Maguire, who's a new subscriber. Hi he says, given Carbery's performance in Kingsholm and over the last 3 weeks since the cast game, have you altered his view on his readiness or fitness to lead Munster into the highest stages of the European Championship? Which I guess is directed at me, because you never had.
I never had those doubts.
I would only say, like, first of all, the doubts it's all doubt because we don't really know.
We don't know yet.
But I would just say, what do you mean by higher stages? I think they proved that they are in the elite group that's going to be mixing it for the championship.
The higher stages for them are winning it.
Yeah, but whether they can emerge from that group as the best 1 or the best 2 in that group, that is still a question. And I think ultimately they may rue the very first game, not winning in Exeter, not getting themselves a home quarter or a home semi, and then having to go away from home.
Losing the Thomond Park factor, which is such a factor.
That could be that could be what kills them in the end. And also obviously that cast game away from home.
Which was the worst performance of certainly this campaign. But as far as Carbery, like, I actually think he is exactly what Munster needed. So it's like whether they get, I think, like you're saying, whether they get to the final stages or win it, if preferably this year. Maybe that'll come down to things other than Carbery, things like their previous performances, the amount of pool points. We were talking last week how they were the only top team who were on 12 points somehow, who were way low down the pecking order. That's going to rule them out of a home probably a home quarter final, but also definitely a home semi final.
Yeah.
And it's just like there's a long way to the final and a lot of travel that has to happen, and a lot of big performances against only the best in Europe.
Yeah.
So it's
and
like
teams who are just going to put you under infinitely more pressure than Gloucester did at the weekend,
Yes.
which is why, you know, it's not a game really that you can judge anything.
Yeah, well, it's nothing solved by it. It's not like none of the talk about like, oh, is Carberry there to replace Sexton now, all that kind of stuff, or that talk is
off base,
absolutely wrong, because Gloucester weren't the opposition to test them that way.
No.
Thanks for watching the Overlap Rugby podcast. If you want to subscribe, there should be a button up here. Don't forget to give us a like and share with your friends, and please leave comments down below. We love the conversation. Thanks.